Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. So before we get started, I just want to say welcome to everyone who has recently subscribed. I didn't think I would get to 20 subscribers, let alone 200. So my last video kind of blew up. I don't know how and I don't know why, but it did. Today I decided to pick up my camera again and film another book related video dedicated out to all of you guys. You seem to really enjoy the last video, so we are here again with more books. I don't have a structure, I'm kind of just winging it. I'm going to talk about the books that helped me get out of a reading slump, as well as my March TBR list. Now, I've seen a lot of YouTubers make these videos, like their TBR lists, and they've named off anywhere from like 10 to 20 books that they want to read within a month. And for me, I personally just don't see that as being realistic, just especially because I'm starting to get into reading again, and I just want to kind of like take it slow. So I guess we'll start off with the book that I started off with. That would be Ollie Perfects by Colleen Hoover. I don't have a copy of it because I actually borrowed it at my local library. But yeah, if you don't know who Colleen Hoover is, where have you been? Like, if you've been on BookTube, Book Talk, like, you know who Colleen Hoover is. The main characters is Lily and Graham. It's kind of like a dual time frame, so you get to know their past and like how they met each other, and then you get to know their like present marriage status. And basically they have a bunch of obstacles that they have to get through. Different like events keep happening, things start building up after another that affects their relationship, their marriage. It's just about communication, honestly. I'm not gonna say anything else. I think that book was a very good choice for me to start off with. It definitely encouraged me to read more, especially by Colleen Hoover. And yes, I don't want to give any spoilers, but I definitely recommend that book to start off with if you are in a reading slump. The next book I read is It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. This book, I thoroughly enjoyed this book. I've noticed that a lot of her books, she gives off, like, the way she writes is just incredible, and I think that she does a really good job at making her stories into like realistic kind of things that people go through. So this book, the main characters is Lily and Ryle. Lily just moved to Boston. She just graduated from college. She meets a guy named Ryle. Obviously, he's a neurosurgeon. He works a bunch of hours. You see their relationship form, and Lily has a childhood first boyfriend, first lover, like best friend, that's name is Atlas. So you also get her past and like what her life was like with Atlas, and he basically comes back into her life, so it makes things a little more complicated for Lily and Ryle's relationship. As you can imagine, like your ex-boyfriend like comes back in your life doing your present boyfriend. Like, the next book I read was another one by Colleen Hoover. It is Ugly Love. The main characters in this book is Tate Collins and Miles Archer. I really like this book just because I've noticed in her other books, she has like, her characters are based off of like a love at first sight like scenario, and I just feel like that's not so very realistic for some people. So I really like how Tate and Miles like aren't like suddenly attracted to each other, like fall in love with each other, love at first sight basically. Miles is a pilot. Basically Miles has like a traumatic past, which makes it hard for him to like want a relationship. Basically Tate and Miles form some type of relationship. It's more sexual attraction, sexual intimacy rather than the emotional side, because Miles has a traumatic past. He has these two rules that cannot ask questions about his past, and she cannot really think about the future with him for like a serious relationship. Throughout the story, you definitely feel the connection, especially the emotional side to them. Also, can we like mention the covers to her books? I think they're all so aesthetically pleasing, and before I started reading again, I never realized how like gorgeous book covers are and like just how happy they make me. And I love with Colleen's books, like the way the cover is pretty much puts together the whole book and why it's titled the way it is, and like you read the book, you understand like why it's like this and why it's titled like this. It all makes sense at the end, which I love. The next book, I actually just recently finished this book. I needed a break from Colleen Hoover's. I just wanted a variety in my reading authors. Nothing against her, but I did pick up The Deal. It is by Elle Kennedy. It is basically an off-campus series book. There's, I think, 5 other ones. I only bought the first book just because I didn't want to buy them all, and like if I didn't enjoy the first one, why would I like buy the other ones? So I kind of wanted to feel it out before I decided to purchase the next ones. So far out of the readings I've read, this is probably my favorite one and the one that I can most relate to. It takes place at like a university, and I am a recent college graduate, so during some of the scenes that happened and college life, I just like, I could imagine it in my head. Like I could literally just picture that all in my head and relate to my own personal life, which I really liked. The main characters are Hannah Wells and Garrett Graham. Now, Garrett wants to get into professional hockey after he graduates. He plays hockey at the university. They have this one class that they're in, so that's kind of where they meet each other. You kind of just see the relationship between Garrett and Hannah start to form, and you get to know each other's past, present, and their future goals. Both of them have trauma in their lives, and I really like that they kind of like open up about that to each other. Now, when I mentioned that this is like a series of books, I guess basically the whole series is about like characters that are hockey players and they go in the same university, that all live together. Each book is a story about their own lives and their love interests, so you kind of just get like a point of view of them and everyone else's thoughts and feelings, which I really like. At the end of this book though, I like that you can read the first 2 chapters of the next book, which is, I think it's called The Mistake. I guess all these books kind of like connect together, but they're just different characters, different point of views. You know what I mean? Now we're gonna move on to my March TBRs. So the first book I want to read this month is another book by Colleen Hoover. This is November 9th. I guess she changed the book cover, like the picture. I don't really know why. If anyone knows, just let me know. I actually did start reading this book. I am about 15 pages in. The main characters in this book is Ben and Fallon. They have an instant love, instant connection. So obviously they meet on November 9th. But they meet at like a inconvenient time for both of them. Like she's moving away, so they basically agree to meet up on the same day every year. But the only catch is that don't have any contact in between. When they meet each other again, they kind of just reconnect and pick off where they last started, if that makes sense. I guess they're just like meant for each other. There's a lot of emotion in this book. I don't know anything further, but I am, like I said, about 15 pages in. I definitely think I'm going to enjoy this book. I'm looking forward to this. I think one of my goals is to incorporate a Colleen Hoover book into every like month that I have. I need a break and I want a variety of books and authors, so I think incorporating at least one book is a good idea for me to start off with. The next book is a different kind of book. It is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. This is by, who's this by? Holly Jackson. This is basically like a young adult murder mystery kind of type of book. One of the main characters is Pip, and she's working on a school project about a murder that happened from like one of her fellow students. It was pinned on her boyfriend, but she doesn't really think that he did it necessarily, and she kind of like reinvestigates the case and finds some things that are a bit sketchy. Just goes through the steps to resurface the case. I think there is 3 books in total. I think the next book is Good Girl, Bad Blood. I think that this is a good opportunity to get out of like the contemporary romance. Pretty much every book I've read so far is like contemporary romance, so I definitely think I would be very interested in like a murder mystery, especially because I like watching like those documentaries. The last book that I'm going to mention, I have heard so many good things about this and I'm so excited to read it. This is Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. It's pretty thick, but it has about 400 pages, which isn't horrible. The main characters is Macy and Elliot. So Macy runs into her like ex-lover at a coffee shop. They haven't seen each other for like 10 years. This is like a childhood friends to lover type of book, as well as like a second chance romance, I've heard. And he basically, Elliot just doesn't really understand why she cut him off, why she never spoke to him again. She doesn't want to talk to him. She has a fiance now. This book takes place in the past when Elliot and Macy first met, and like their childhood life and them growing up together. And I guess it takes you to the present where they just start to rekindle their friendship, relationship. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope I did a good job at explaining things. Let me know if you're interested in more book videos. I definitely want to film some. If you have read any of these books, let me know as well, like your opinions, your thoughts. Just don't spoil it for anyone, because I really want to read these and discover it myself. I also have thought about purchasing like a Kindle, because I've heard that it's easier and you don't have to pay as much for like a paperback book. If you guys have a Kindle, if you know anything about them, let me know if it's worth the purchase. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see more from me. Okay, bye.